In this video, we're kind of using all the information or learning we've done in this last section as well as other sections to outright compare fractions and decimals. This first couple examples, we're looking at number lines. So it says graph 3/10 and 4/10 on the number line. If you're familiar with the language, if you understand what these things mean, this should be an easy question. 3/10 is obviously right here. 4/10 is there. So which number is greater? 4/10. If you're a little bit confused by what I just did, try and think about converting them both to probably decimals. Here would be easiest because of the number lines and decimals. 3/10, remember, is 3 in the tenths column. So 0 and 3/10. So you see that right there. Same idea for this example. Graph 5 and 1/10 and 5 and 4/10 on the number line. So we can figure out from I'm just going to quickly fill in the blanks. So 5.4 is obviously right here. And then this one, 5 and 4/10 I should say, because this one, 5 and 1/10, hopefully you recognize that that is right here. So when it asks us which is greater, 5 and 4/10 is the greater number. Ms. Cooper, how did you know that 5 and 1/10 equals 5.1? I hope you'll remember that this is 5 whole and then 1 in the tenths column. 5 whole and 1/10. In this example, they're asking us which sign makes the statement true. So 5 hundredths or 0 and 29 hundredths. Again, noticing that language, hopefully you're aware that 0.29 or 0 and 29 hundredths is the same as saying 29 hundredths, which makes it easier to compare. Or you could say 5 hundredths is the same as saying 0 and 5 hundredths. Obviously, 29 hundredths is bigger, so we want to have the greater than sign, 5 hundredths is less than 29 hundredths, or 29 hundredths is greater than 5 hundredths. Same idea here. Which sign makes the statement true? 1/10 versus 5/10. Let's just sort of think about that. 5/10 is the same as saying 5/10. 1/10 is the same as saying 1/10. So it's much easier to compare the fraction with the fraction, fraction with fraction, decimal with decimal. Either way, 5/10 is definitely the bigger number. So we're gonna write the less than sign, saying that 1/10 is less than 5/10. So in this example, it's asking us which sign makes the statement true again, but it's a little trickier because we have 9/10 and 55 hundredths. So if I write that as a fraction, 55 over 100, which isn't as easy to compare with a fraction over 10. So I would suggest 9/10, let's make its equivalent, because it's really easy to make a fraction that's over 10 into an equivalent over 100. Hopefully you're immediately thinking, hey, 10 times 10 is 100, so I can times 10 on the top, which would make 90 hundredths. So then we know 9/10 is equivalent to 90 hundredths, and it's much easier to look at 90 hundredths versus 55 hundredths. This one is the bigger one, so the answer to our question, we want to do the greater than sign, saying 90 hundredths or 9/10, both equal, is bigger than 55 hundredths. In this last example, it's a similar situation where we're comparing 1/5 with 72 hundredths. So even as a fraction, 72 hundredths, it's not easy to compare. So I'm going to try and find an equivalent fraction for 1/5. It's not. If you are really good with your multiplication, you might notice that 5 times 20 equals 100. So then I could say 1 times 20 is 20. If you don't see that right away, that's okay. Hopefully you recognize right away that, hey, 5 times 2 is 10, so times 2 to the top. And then it's pretty easy for me to get from, for a denominator of 10 to a denominator of 100. Times 10, times 10, and then, oh yeah, 2 times 10 is 20. Notice we end up with 20 hundredths either way. This is just, again, I cannot stress enough, if you are really comfortable with your basic multiplication, you start to recognize these things and you can go a little faster. But if you don't, you can get there, just it's one extra step. That's fine. So up here, we can say, okay, 1/5 is equal to 20 hundredths. So now it's easy to compare 20 hundredths with 72 hundredths. Obviously, 72 hundredths is bigger. So we're going to write in the less than sign and say 20 hundredths, or 1/5, is smaller than 72 hundredths. So this guy here. That's it for this section. Good work and good luck with the rest.